and welcome to Business Focus. I'm your host, Eisen Management Group President Roger Roser. Joining me today is Barbara Poole from the great state of Connecticut, and she's joining us here in our studio offices in Cincinnati, Ohio, to talk about something very important, probably something on the top of the minds of employers, employees. The sky is falling, the economy, all doom and gloom. Oh my God, what am I going to do with my job? Barbara's an HR expert with EmployAid, EmployAid.com, tremendous resource for all kinds of things that you may need to know about career counseling, life and work balance, what to do if you get laid off, what to do if you're in that unenviable situation. So thank you for joining us on Business Focus.
So welcome.
So what should we be looking at? What is what's the crystal ball of the future hold, I guess, for employers and employees?
I think that one of the first things that we have to realize is that the face of work is no longer what we thought it was, and that companies that we assumed were going to be legacy companies and be with us for years to come and places people could go and rely on, it's just not the case anymore.
Sure.
And people are going to have to learn how to differentiate themselves if you're an employee, to really almost fight or buck the trend of hiding out in your cubicle, hoping you're not going to make it on a cut list. You're going to have to learn how to truly make your performance, if you do have a job and you're fortunate enough to be hanging on to your job, really to differentiate yourself from others in your office by taking on projects that you normally would shy away from if you're somebody who kind of hangs out in the background, by volunteering for projects. I always tell people it's a lot harder to cut a known face on a cut list than it is if you're just a name and a slot and an employee number. That's one. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking a lot, and I mean, there's career advice, and what do I do about this, what do I do about that, but you've argued that the worst thing you can do is be that wallflower back in the back-end queue. That's certainly not good for...
Yeah, it's really a counterintuitive thing to do. And if you're an employer, there's still going to be a crying need to hang on to top talent in the face of all of the losses. And companies will do outstanding things to keep and to retain their talent. The other big trend that's going to happen this year is really a huge influx of small businesses and startups.
Oh, sure.
Because people who are being accessed will be regrowing the economy of the United States through all of their startup efforts. And if you kind of parallel path what's going on with what President-elect Obama is talking about in terms of growth industries and healthcare and energy and construction and high-tech manufacturing, we're going to see an enormous need for small business. And coupled with that, if you are an employee who's been accessed and you have the opportunity to go work for a smaller company, that's also going to require some attitude adjustment on your part.
Sure.
You might come into a company and have more experience than the CEO.
Wow, that's a tough situation. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about that, but that's actually pretty likely to start happening.
It's pretty likely to start happening, and as much as there's challenge and excitement in working for a startup, yes, you may be working long hours, you may be as stressed out as you were in your job for a huge company, but the fact is you're more than likely to be a stakeholder as opposed to just a cog in a machine. But the fact of the matter is that you really have to go out and educate the owner of the company as to why you're there and how you can complement that guy or gal as opposed to taking their job from them. And one of the pitfalls, if you're going to be hiring someone from a larger company, if you are fortunate to start up your own company, is to recognize the power of letting go. Because one thing that we're going to see, and we have seen in the future, in the past, in the future is going to be people who really start small companies and then basically implode because they can't let go of the business. They hire somebody, seriously, they hire somebody with a background, and the owner of the company is probably thrilled that they've got this person on board.
But then they don't let them do what
they don't let them do what it is that they hired them for. So we're going to see a situation where there needs to be an attitude adjustment both on the part of the employer and the employee. And I tell folks that although it may be counterintuitive, the standout candidates are going to be the ones that are interviewing their prospective bosses on what's it going to be like to work here, and why should I come here. So as small companies will...
Tables have been turned a little bit, yeah.
The tables have been turned, and they have a wonderful opportunity as a small employer to capture folks that they never ever would have access to in their right minds, because it's very sexy, or it was very sexy, to have gone to work for a large corporation in a VP slot, for example.
Right.
And by the same token, there needs to be an attitude adjustment that all the perks and the bonus programs and the staff of 5.
Right.
It isn't the reality anymore.
This is not your grandfather's business anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you bring up a great point too. I mean, all these small businesses that are going to start to be popping up, and you had mentioned this to me, you know, off air. Some HR departments are shrinking. A lot of small businesses don't even have HR departments, and I think that's why your organization is such tremendous help. I mean, log online, employee.com, and all of a sudden you have this wealth of resources, whether it's videos or blogs or certification programs or just ways to just empower yourself as an employee and an employer. Can you tell us a little bit more just in general about some of the resources that are available on your site?
One of the reasons I founded the company was, whether or not there was this upheaval in the economy, was the fact that people weren't getting what they needed to survive at work. You weren't going to learn how to survive in your job by learning how to sell.
Right.
It was all of the stuff that was going on, working with crazy cube mates and your boss who's difficult, or how do you get ahead in the organization. And I developed the site to give people the opportunity to have resources at every stage of their career.
Sure.
From starting out to making the decision to move on, and what's involved with all the trials and tribulations in between. And we decided to give people a lot of choice so that you might get most of your information and kind of dig things by watching a video. Someone else might feel far more comfortable reading something, and still other people are going to want to listen to podcasts or read a white paper for research value. And we try and give people a full array of media choices and a never-ending series of content added monthly to the site as well.
Right, just a tremendous resource loaded with articles, and again, for all the viewers out there, that the articles, it should be a daily tip that you get from employee.com, just to check out things that you could be doing as an employer and as an employee. I mean, it certainly goes you know, both ways. What do you think are going to be some of the biggest obstacles that employers are going to have to overcome this year? And conversely, what do employees need to know so they can succeed? Because it is a little scary out there.
One of the things that is going to be critical for employers to grab a hold of is the idea of survivor syndrome. Because the people that you have left at your job site are paralyzed with the fear of, when is this going to happen to me?
When are you going to fire me?
When are you going to fire me? What am I going to do? So you've got paranoia rampant in your organization.
That's good for morale.
It's abysmal. It's an abysmal time. The other thing that's really difficult is the idea of lack of engagement, where your employees are at their cubes, but they're checked out. They are looking at other media. Their productivity is an all-time low. They don't feel motivated anymore. And in order to break through that, it's got to be situation abnormal for the employer. And that's by letting employees talk about how they feel. It's having town hall meetings to talk about the economy and how they contribute to the business and where the business stands in relation to the competition. It's drilling down responsibility to the lowest level in the corporation so that people do feel like they're stakeholders, when in fact for many years they probably have not felt that way in a large corporate structure.
Right.
So offering the same kind of connectedness that employees enjoy in a small company is going to be job one for employers going forward.
Really plussing up those internal communications, so that's going to be critical.
Absolutely.
And then conversely, on the other side, for employees, what do they need to do to get over this?
Employees will need to know, and this is something that I've been preaching to the choir for years, is that regardless of what your career history is, you're not working for a company. No matter where you work, you are on your own. You are working for you, because the odds are you may not have a job in a year or two, and the question is...
And it may not be through any fault of yours.
Absolutely. That's a great point. And What we know is that people are literally, I use a term called portfolio futures. You're the sum total of your experience. You pack that skill set up and you're going to go somewhere else and use it. And the more you can grab and ask yourself over and over, what am I working towards? What am I building for? And in the same way, we see patients becoming far more proactive in their healthcare choices.
That's a good analogy, yeah.
I'm recommending to employees to understand the marketplace, understand their value and net worth. If they were a commodity or a box of cornflakes, how would they sell that box of cornflakes in a new account or to a new employer? And understand that careers and lifetime cradle-to-grave employment is a thing of the past. And large corporations are giving way to really what we see as a mini industrial revolution in this country, where small to medium-sized businesses are going to be the engines of the new economy.
We are still the lifeblood of the economy.
We are, we are, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, Barb, thank you so much for being on Business Focus. If you had to leave one tip for an employer out there, what would it be? Just one.
Well, I think the most important thing is to strengthen your ability as a leader and to learn the difference between micromanaging your way to lack of productivity and learn how to lead and inspire people throughout these very, very difficult times.
Excellent advice. And you can get Barb at employee.com. That's employaid.com. And again, just a wealth of resource and a wealth of knowledge. So thank you, Barb, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
And for everyone at Business Focus, especially you, the listener, go listen, learn, and grow. This is Roger, over and out.